You think those wildfires that turn skies a hazy, apocalyptic orange, the superstorms that erase coastlines, the biblical floods that swallow entire towns, you think these are the random, angry tantrums of a dying planet? The final, desperate gasps of Mother Nature? Think again. That's the story you're meant to believe. It's a simple, elegant narrative, repeated like a mantra by every news channel, every politician, every celebrity with a cause. The catechism is familiar to us all. Humanity, with its insatiable appetite for fossil fuels, has pumped the atmosphere full of carbon. The planet is now encased in a heat-trapping greenhouse, and we are reaping the whirlwind. The deserts will expand, the oceans will rise, and our only salvation lies in a global, unified green transformation, a complete overhaul of our energy, our economy, our very way of life, all orchestrated by the wise and benevolent guidance of international bodies. It's a powerful story. It has villains, victims, and a clear path to redemption. It preys on our deepest fears and our noblest intentions, and it is, perhaps, the most sophisticated lie ever told. What if I told you that these catastrophes, whether natural or not, are not the problem? What if I told you they are the pretext? What if they are being deliberately and systematically weaponized to execute the single greatest assault on individual liberty and national sovereignty in the history of mankind? This is not about the environment. It never was. This is about architecture, the architecture of control. You need to understand, the narrative of a climate apocalypse is a meticulously crafted Trojan horse. The horse looks beautiful, noble even. It carries the banners of sustainability, equity, and saving the planet. But inside its hollow belly, an army waits. An army of technocrats, financiers, and ideologues ready to dismantle the world as you know it. They call this plan by many names, but its most public face is one you may have heard whispered: the Great Reset. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is an openly declared agenda. A plan to tear down the old order, the one based on private property, national borders, and individual choice, and replace it with a new one. A global, top-down system where power and wealth are not earned or voted for, but allocated by an unelected, self-appointed elite. A system of absolute technological surveillance and control. They don't need to fire a single shot to win this war. Why would they, when they can simply declare your way of life a threat to planetary survival? Why stage a military coup when they can stage a climate crisis? Think about it with the cold, hard logic they hope you've abandoned. Every major policy shift in the world requires a crisis to justify it. You cannot suspend liberties, cripple industries, and fundamentally re-engineer society when people are happy, prosperous, and free. You need them to be afraid. You need them to be in a constant state of panic, begging for a savior. So they feed you that fear, a perpetual crisis narrative, updated daily. Every heat wave is unprecedented. Every storm is historic. Every scientific model, funded by the very institutions that stand to profit from the solution, paints a picture of imminent doom. The aural wallpaper of our lives has become a drumbeat of emergency, a siren's wail designed to drown out critical thought and manufacture consent through sheer emotional exhaustion. They have successfully framed the very air we breathe as a pollutant. The carbon dioxide that is essential for all plant life on Earth has been rebranded as a poison. The energy sources that lifted humanity out of poverty and powered modern civilization are now cast as a moral evil. It is the most audacious public relations campaign ever conceived. And for what? So they can sell you the solution they owned from the very beginning. A solution that has nothing to do with green pastures and clean air, and everything to do with a centralized global governance built on scarcity and dependency. This is their revolution. A quiet, bloodless coup unfolding in boardrooms and at closed-door summits, all under the perfect, unassailable cover of saving the world. Forget what they say, watch what they do, and ask the one question they never want you to ask: cui bono? Who benefits? Because in this grand, terrifying play, the survival of the planet is not the prize. You are. So, you have asked the question.
Cui bono, who benefits from this global crusade against carbon, this holy war waged in the name of a green utopia? The answer is not a shadowy cabal waiting in a smoke-filled room. They are not hiding. Their names are on the sponsoring panels of climate summits. Their logos are on the reports that dictate public policy, and their proclamations are delivered from the grand stages of Davos. They hide in plain sight, confident in the public's inability to connect the dots. Let us be methodical. To understand this war, you must first identify the generals. First, there are the architects, the ideologues. This role is played with chilling efficiency by the World Economic Forum. They are the grand strategists, the ones who write the scripture for this new global order. They wrap their agenda in the comforting language of public-private partnerships and stakeholder capitalism, concepts that sound harmless until you translate them. What they mean is a system where unelected corporations wield power equal to or greater than that of sovereign governments. It is a world governed by an appointed oligarchy. Do you think this is hyperbole? The founder of the WEF, Klaus Schwab, has looked directly into a camera and spoken of a future where you will own nothing and you will be happy. This is not a slip of the tongue, it is a mission statement. They are telling you their plan. Next, there are the enforcers, the muscle. An ideology is powerless without a mechanism to enforce it. This is where the true power lies, not with politicians, but with the colossal asset management firms, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. Picture a financial octopus, its head cloaked in the glass towers of Manhattan, its tentacles reaching into the boardroom of every major corporation on Earth. Together, they manage over $20 trillion in assets. That is not a number. It is a gravitational force, powerful enough to bend economies to its will. Their weapon is a simple three-letter acronym, ESG, Environment, Social, Governance. It is presented as a moral scorecard, a way for investors to reward virtuous companies. The reality is far more brutal. ESG is a financial weapon of mass destruction. It is a level of control, a sophisticated protection racket. Comply with the climate agenda, divest from fossil fuels, embrace the narrative, and the trillions of dollars flow your way. Defy them, continue to drill for oil or raise cattle, and the capital pipelines are squeezed shut. They are not persuading companies to go green, they are starving them into submission. Finally, there are the rule makers, the international bodies that grant this agenda the veneer of legitimacy, the UN, the IMF, the World Bank. They are the ones who translate the WEF's ideology and BlackRock's financial pressure into global policy. They create the artificial markets like the global carbon credit market, a scheme projected to be worth trillions, conjured from thin air and climate fear. They are the ones who saddle developing nations with climate loans, forcing them to trade their national sovereignty for financial aid, binding them to a green agenda they cannot afford and did not ask for. See the architecture. An ideological think tank proposes the plan, a financial cartel enforces it, a network of supranational bureaucracies codifies it into law. It is a seamless, self-reinforcing loop of power. This is not theory, this is a documented, observable reality. Consider Sri Lanka. Just before its society collapsed, before its people stormed the presidential palace amidst catastrophic food and fuel shortages, the country was celebrated by the architects of this system. It boasted a new perfect ESG score of 98. Why? Because its government made the suicidal decision to ban chemical fertilizers overnight to appease its globalist financiers. The result was not a green paradise, it was a failed state. Was this a tragic policy error, or was it a failed test for the world? Look at the farmers in the Netherlands, in Germany, in France, blocking highways with their tractors. These are not climate deniers. These are people whose families have worked the land for centuries. They are protesting against nitrogen taxes and carbon regulations that are designed to do one thing: drive them out of business. One Dutch farmer said it best: they don't care about the land, they want the land.
This is the central pillar of their plan, the deliberate, systematic creation of scarcity. He who controls the food supply controls the people. He who controls the energy controls civilizations. The war on fossil fuels was never about the climate. It was about dismantling the system of cheap, reliable, abundant energy that created the modern world and gave unprecedented freedom to the individual. By intentionally decommissioning nuclear power plants, restricting oil and gas exploration, and forcing a dependency on unreliable, expensive renewables, they are not saving the planet. They are seizing the master switch of society. They are building a world where your ability to heat your home, power your business, or travel freely is not a right but a privilege granted and revoked by them. The picture is becoming clear. The soaring cost of living is not an accident. The pressure on our food supply is not a coincidence. The engineered energy crisis is not a misfortune. It is a controlled demolition of the old world to clear the ground for their new one. A world where national sovereignty is an outdated concept, private property is a liability, and your individual freedom is subordinate to the collective survival. A collective whose rules are written by them. They have the narrative to instill fear. They have the financial weapons to bankrupt nations and industries. But this control from the top down is only half of the equation. How do they bring this control down to the individual level? How do they lock the cage door not on a country but on you? The answer is being marketed as a convenient, eco-friendly paradise. In our next transmission, we will dissect the architecture of your future prison, the 15-minute city. They have sold you the blueprint for your prison and they have called it paradise, the 15-minute city. Has a pleasant ring, does it not? A quaint European ideal. A world where everything you could possibly need, work, shopping, school, healthcare, is a short walk or bicycle ride from your front door. It is marketed with smiling photos of diverse families in sun-drenched parks and vibrant, car-free streets. It is the eco-utopia you have been trained to desire. The solution to climate change, traffic congestion, and social isolation. But you must look at the architecture of their plans, not the gloss of their marketing brochures. You must ask what purpose a structure truly serves. A fence can be used to keep predators out, or it can be used to keep livestock in. What do you think they see you as? Let us be clear. The 15-minute city is not a concept of convenience. It is a concept of control. The very name is a boundary, a perimeter. Within this perimeter, you are granted a carefully curated illusion of choice. Outside of it, your movement becomes a privilege, not a right. How is this enforced? They will not need walls of brick and barbed wire. Those are crude instruments for a bygone era. The barriers of the future are digital, invisible, and absolute. They are already testing it. In cities like Oxford and Canterbury, they are introducing traffic filters. To drive from one zone of the city to another, you will need a permit. Exceed your allotted number of journeys, and you will be automatically fined, your license plate captured by the ever-watchful eye of a camera. The official justification is, as always, noble: reducing congestion, cleaning the air. The problem they created is traffic. The reaction they cultivated is public frustration. The solution they offer is your confinement. Now connect this to the mechanism we have already discussed, your personal carbon footprint. What happens when these digital gates are no longer tied to a simple traffic permit, but to your carbon allowance? What happens when your smart car, tethered to the grid, is informed that you have already exhausted your travel quota for the month? What happens when your attempt to drive to the next town to visit family is simply denied? The transaction fails. The bollard does not retract. The gate does not open. You are not under arrest, you are simply managed. You are a resource, an asset on a digital ledger, and your movement is being optimized for the greater good. This control will not stop at your mobility. It is the Trojan horse for a far more invasive system. If they can monitor and restrict your travel to save the planet, what else can they justify controlling? The carbon cost of your food is the next frontier. They are already telling you that red meat is unsustainable, that farming is a liability. It begins with public information campaigns and taxes on beef. It ends with your smart refrigerator scanning your groceries, your bank account cross-referencing the purchase with your dietary carbon score. Did you buy the insect protein patty from their partner corporation? You are rewarded with a few extra social credits. Did you dare to buy a steak from a local farmer who refuses to play their game? Your transaction is flagged, perhaps even declined. Your privileges are reduced. This creates a terrifying feedback loop, a social credit system born from the climate agenda. Your compliance is constantly measured, and your freedom is adjusted in real time. Attended a protest against these policies, your travel rights might be suspended for public safety. Posted an article questioning the official climate narrative, your access to certain services might be throttled. Every aspect of your life, what you eat, where you go, what you say, what you buy, is aggregated into a single comprehensive score, a score that determines your place in their new, highly stratified society. But how could they possibly enforce such a granular, all-encompassing system of control? Physical cash is anonymous. Decentralized cryptocurrencies are a threat to their monopoly. To lock the door of this digital prison, they need a new kind of money. A money they create, they distribute, and they can control down to the last cent. This is the final piece of the puzzle, the keystone in the arch of tyranny. Here is the truth they will never admit. Their power, this entire edifice of control, is built on a single foundation, your silent compliance. They need you to believe their narrative of fear. They need you to accept their solutions without question. They need you to walk willingly into the comfortable cage they have built for you, believing it is for your own good. The greatest weapon of an oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. The time for passive observation is over. The time for silent consent has expired. You must begin to dismantle their power, not with violence, but with conscious, deliberate defiance. Question the narrative. Turn off the mainstream media that feeds you a diet of perpetual crisis. Ask the forbidden question at every turn. Cui bono? Who truly benefits from these policies? The answer will never be you. Seek out the primary sources. Read the policy documents from the WEF, the UN, the central banks. They have written down their entire plan. They are counting on you never reading it. Share this knowledge. Have the difficult conversations with friends and family. Your voice, joined with millions of others, creates a dissonance they cannot silence. Take practical steps to reclaim your sovereignty. Use cash whenever possible. It is an instrument of freedom. Support your local farmers, the very people on the front lines of this war. They are the guardians of our food security. Defend your right to travel. Resist any scheme, any app, any digital pass that places conditions on your freedom of movement. Build resilient communities, networks of people who see the world for what it is and are willing to stand together. Build a world where you will own nothing. The only way to counter this is to own your mind, to own your choices, to own your dissent. Their new world order is not inevitable. It is a proposal, and we have the right to refuse. We have laid bare the architecture of the prison, from the ideology that designed it to the digital fences that will contain you, but the final lock has yet to be fully turned. In the next transmission, we will dissect the most dangerous tool in their arsenal, the mechanism that will make this dystopian vision a programmable reality. We will explore the weapon they call progress, central bank digital currency.